Along with Trevor Trowbridge tonight, rolling into a brand new week. Hope you're having a good one. It is just frigid outside right now. I couldn't believe how cold it was when I rolled into the studio. What's it like down there in Indy right now, Trevor?
Well, still terrible. Just really about the same as it was for you. I mean, it's freezing, but then I saw like later in the week, I think Wednesday it's going to be like 50 degrees. I don't know. It's Midwest winter for you, bro. Yeah,
wow.
At least down here.
Holy cow. Yeah, I was out in Virginia with Notre Dame women's basketball over the weekend, and we were there yesterday, and it was in the teens, I think, and like they could not, like it was an historic cold for them out there where we were. So I was like, hey, well, we get back to South Bend and we've got snow on the cars and everything else, sticking herself at the airport. So good times, good times. Well, Trevor is going to be in. Appreciate you being in today, and he'll be in with me another day this week and next week, as well as our good friend Vince D'Addario continues on the mend after his surgery last week. And Vince, if you happen to be listening, we obviously wish you well, no matter what I say to you when we text each other.
Yeah, definitely hoping for a speedy recovery for Vince. He's been slacking lately. It's like he had major surgery or something. Whatever.
I know, right? Like, come on, man, give me a break. Well, we've got kind of a new little thing we're experimenting with today with Notre Dame's football season officially over now. We are segueing into this off season, but I mean, the season never really ends here when you're talking about doing a radio show and a podcast and everything else, because we are we're pretty much every day, and we're still going to continue to talk Notre Dame football, but we'll be talking a little bit more basketball now as well, and we'll get to some of that, both men's and women's, later this hour, and some other topics as well. Kind of a weekend in review, kind of a Monday kind of thing, and we still have at least a little bit of Notre Dame football to talk about right now with the Heisman Trophy ceremony over the weekend, and Jeremiyah Love getting to be one of those three finalists. Congrats to Indiana quarterback Fernando Mendoza, Indiana's first ever Heisman Trophy winner. It definitely seems odd. I don't know about you, Trevor. I mean, you grew up here in this state. I mean, not necessarily in that IU part of the state, just like me up here in northern Indiana. It is odd to think that Indiana has a Heisman Trophy winner, and they are unbeaten and the number one team in the country right now heading into this weekend's playoffs.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping I was going to wake up after you said that, and I was just like, oh, it's a bad dream. It's, November 29th again. Here we go. But, yeah, I mean, look, first and foremost, hats off. I mean, it's been a very special season, really last special 2 seasons for Curt Cignetti and the Hoosiers. And,
yeah.
And, look, I'd be lying if I said I was a big Indiana fan growing up. Never really was on my radar, especially for football, because, Sean, you and I both know what Indiana was for football back then.
That's exactly right.
But I mean, it's hard to deny what they have done isn't just absolutely insanely impressive.
It is. Over the last 2 years, the metamorphosis they have undergone. And I mean, I thought when they had Michael Penix a few years back before he transferred to Washington that they probably had the best quarterback that they were ever going to have. But look at what Fernando Mendoza did this year. Jeremiyah Love finishes third in the voting. Mendoza, 2,362 total points, followed by Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia with 1,435 points. And then Jeremiyah Love was 719. Fourth place finisher Julian Sayin had 432. I'm honestly, with the drop off that far down to the fourth place guy, 432, I'm a little surprised Julian Sayin got an invite to New York, because they do kind of a cutoff. They don't always automatically invite 4 guys. And then nobody wanted to interview him at the media session. I kind of felt bad for him. He's sitting there.
I did too.
The other 3 guys have 1 million people huddled around, and there's one guy over there with his camera out It's really insane. Oh man.
Yeah, I did too. But that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, I
I guess
guess.
so. Are you surprised that Love finished so far behind Pavia though?
Yeah, I am. I mean, unfortunately, after what happened this season and with the playoff snub and all this, nothing really surprises me anymore. But just in the confines of the Heisman Trophy, yeah, I'm pretty shocked that he finished that far behind Pavia. I thought Love was going to finish second. I
I
really
did
did.
too. Well, I won't say I thought that he was going to definitely thought he was going to finish second. I thought that he had a lot of really good momentum, obviously going into the end of the season. And for whatever reason, I guess it was because of the win over Tennessee. Pavia made that sort of late surge. I thought that at the very least, those two would be a lot closer for second place than what they were. But as it turned out, Pavia had like double the points that Jeremiyah Love had. That's what shocked me, that they weren't at least closer.
Yeah, overall, the weirdest thing about this Heisman Trophy voting is the fact that it's just it didn't really follow what we've seen before in the past. Like with Diego Pavia, if you wanted to go with stats, fine. 3,100 passing yards, 826 rushing yards, 30, what is that? Quick math. 38 total touchdowns. I mean, fine. If you want to go with that for stats, sure. But then if you want to talk about the meaning for the team, I think Jeremiyah Love kind of edges that out, in my opinion. But that's rough.
Yeah, and I think that unfortunately, I don't think that enough Heisman voters thought that way. Like it just really felt like, well, you're a running back. And I think a lot of them looked at what Ashton Genty did with all the, the numbers that he put up last year. And people were like, well, why is this guy, like, why should we think any more of him than we did Ashton Genty? Look at what Ashton Genty did. And this guy's, not even in the ballpark, in terms of just total yards. He doesn't return kicks. And, there's just, I guess there just wasn't enough juice. I think that you really had to watch him game in and game out to fully appreciate what he did. He definitely got the highlights, like the Sports Center type stuff. I think that that's what kept him in contention. But at the end of the day, I think that too many people just look at numbers, and for running back, the numbers weren't enough for Jeremiyah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the unfortunate thing. A lot of people are going to draw conclusions back to Ashton Genty. Well, the thing that I would like to point out, and yes, Ashton Genty's season was absolutely historic, what he did for Boise State last year. The second leading rusher on that Boise State team was their quarterback. He had 221 rushing yards and 5 rushing touchdowns. I mean, look, Jeremiyah Love was able to put up the numbers he did with Jadarian Price carrying the ball 113 times for 674 yards and 11 rushing touchdowns. That, to me, is beyond impressive. But for a lot of the people that just kind of box score watch and they're just going to go to ESPN and just pull up the full numbers that didn't watch the games, they're just going to look at Jeremiyah Love, 1,300 rushing yards. Why should he win the Heisman Trophy? I think that was ultimately his demise.
I agree. Do you think any of the blowback after Notre Dame turned down the bowl last week, because the votes were due, I think it was last Monday, people had to turn in their ballot, so there was at least a little time. Do you think that there, any of that blowback could have impacted Love as well?
I mean, potentially. I mean, like I said, after the playoff stuff, nothing would surprise me anymore. I also didn't have it on my bingo card that the ACC network was going to play the Notre Dame Miami game 10 times between Thursday and Saturday before championship weekend. So potentially that could be a factor. I would like to think no, because the bowl performance wouldn't have impacted Jeremiyah Love's ability to win the Heisman. The award would have came out before bowl season started. So I'm hoping not.
No. I'm not saying by not. I'm just saying the negative reaction.
Oh, sure.
Country, which was led by obviously a lot of media, who were upset with Notre Dame. Like his connection to Notre Dame. I think, could it have had some impact? Yeah, but I mean, especially like when you look at the ballot and the way things went, I think that at the end of the day, Heisman voters did what so many lazy Heisman voters do, and they just go for good quarterback on the best team, because like look at, and I don't want to take anything away from Fernando Mendoza. Like he's had a great season, and obviously, like Josh Pate, for example, I think he had Fernando Mendoza ranked. It was either the 8th or 9th best quarterback in the Big Ten going into this season. So Mendoza has obviously, exceeded at least the expectations of Josh Payton, but a lot of other people as well. Like Payton, a lot of others thought that Drew Aller was going to be the best quarterback in the Big Ten. Didn't work out that way. And, like Mendoza as a person, I don't think that you can like watching his Heisman speech and just seeing after they beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game and doing his, interview on the field after the Big Ten championship game. It's like, how can you not like Fernando Mendoza? There's literally, I don't think any way you couldn't, like Fernando Mendoza. But again, it just feels to me like it defaulted to good quarterback on the best team in the country, which is, as we've talked about before, which is what the Heisman Trophy, unfortunately, has defaulted into more times than not. If you look at the track record over the last, 25 years now, 4 running backs, Devontae Smith, and then Travis Hunter last year, the only non-quarterbacks to win it.
Yeah, like you said, hats off to Fernando Mendoza and what he was able to do. The toughest part for me is it's hard for me to say that somebody is the best player in the country when they're arguably not the best player on their team. That's the hardest part for me with a quarterback like Fernando Mendoza. I think what he did this season was special. I would argue that he's the 3rd or 4th best player on that roster. If I'm looking at it objectively, I mean, you got Omar Cooper Jr., you have Elijah Surratt on offense, and that's just the 2 receivers. I mean, then you also on defense, you got D'Angelo Pons and Aiden Fisher and Amari Farrell and Mikhail Kamara. So, like, it's just hard for me to justify in any way you're the best player in the country, but maybe not the best player on your team. That's always been a hard thing to grasp.
And that's, and he won a lot of the other, the Walter Camp Award and, some of those, like, I think he ended up winning like at least 3, if not 4 major awards, like the Maxwell Award. I think he won those kind of things. And so it's, again, like, I'm not trying to take anything. Joe coming hard. How long did he practice and memorize that speech? He did have a teleprompter. Like, you could tell, like, I know there was like once or twice where you could actually see the reflection of the teleprompter. So that wasn't all off the top of his head. And he was very emotional giving it as well.
Oh, sure.
They all got to write their speech and then they turned it in, in case whoever won, and they were going to pop that up on the teleprompter for him. So I'm not going to take anything away from Mendoza for that.
Oh, Agreed completely. It's an emotional moment. Add him to the list of all the emotional Heisman Trophy winners that got to stand up on stage.
I was listening to Andy Staples today, and I thought it was because, like, I've been looking at Fernando Mendoza, and I'm like, who does this guy remind me of? Because like an undeniable positive attitude, great attitude, and he's like so, sometimes, maybe a little bit too sugar-coated or whatever. Kirk Cousins is who Andy Staples said. And I think that that's probably the perfect comparison. Like when you look at the Kirk Cousins attitude and mentality, like if you've seen either of the Netflix quarterback shows where you got to like Kirk Cousins, undeniably positive. And I remember like him even going back to when he was at Michigan State, Dan Patrick had him on and he was singing a song and playing his guitar, on the Dan Patrick show and that kind of thing. So I think, and that, and I'm not even talking about from a skill standpoint. I'm just talking about the exuberant positivity that Mendoza has. I think he and Kirk Cousins are very, very similar.
Yeah, I think that's a really good comparison. I mean, Kirk Cousins is just, he's just kind of the American dad that everybody wants to see. He just also happens to be pretty good at football.
Yeah, exactly. He's been doing it for a long time too. So if positivity can get you there, I guess, more power to you. So,
sure.
As far as Love, though, I mean, is there anything else you think he could have done to even make it a closer race, even if he wasn't going to win?
I mean, you'd be shocked, but there are some people that don't know that he was like hurt against Stanford, like that he got hurt and had the rib injury. But outside of that, no. I mean, a lot of the things that happened this season were outside of his control. A lot of the screen plays against Miami were RPOs. So I don't love how much he was not given the ball and not a part of the game plan as a focal point. But look, at the end of the day, I don't think he could have done anything differently. I don't. Outside of don't get hurt against Stanford, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's honestly it. Is like, okay, you needed a few more highlight plays. Like that's literally the only thing. If he would have been able to have a more productive game against Miami at the start of the season, that probably would have helped. It wasn't like that's what was going to win him the Heisman. But like you said, that was completely out of his control. He only had 10 carries. They barely gave him the ball. In the second half, they barely ran the ball. They all but disregarded the pass game when they got down by a couple of touchdowns and, got back in the game. But like they neglected him in the game plan against Miami, and then could have at least helped him if he, if the injury against Stanford hadn't happened and he's able to hit a couple of highlight plays and, leave a little bit more of a, impression coming out of that Stanford game. But again, not his fault. There's nothing he could do about taking that knee to the ribs. It is what it is. Will Compton, did you see Will Compton's tweet over the weekend?
Oh, yeah.
He continues, and for those who don't know who Will Compton is, former NFL, college and NFL player and co-host of the Bussin' with the Boys podcast. He had a great tweet Saturday. He said, "Don't let this Heisman ceremony distract you from the fact that deep state college football protected Alabama, ran a squeeze-out operation on Notre Dame, and manipulated the system to justify an ACC team getting into the college football playoff." I don't know, like why Will Compton has adopted this as like his pet peeve, his pet project, but he just continues to hammer it. And it's honestly kind of fun to watch because there haven't been many others, if any other, like national type guys, especially like player standpoint, who have really been behind Notre Dame on this thing. And like he used the Heisman ceremony as yet another talking point to launch himself into what he called the deep college football protecting Alabama. I love it.
No, I love it, man. I mean, look, Will Compton's just a football guy. I mean, he just wants to see good football on the field. Like Mark Ingram spoke out about it. Obviously, Brady Quinn did. So a couple of different. I mean, Dan Orlovsky did. So it's people that value the game at its peak, I think, are more along those lines.
It's probably easier, like like Ingram. Like I was shocked at Ingram coming the way, because obviously, him being an Alabama guy, but like he knows what the Alabama standard is, and he knows how that Alabama team was playing. If anybody should know, it's him. I do think it's easier for Quinn and Ingram because, let's just be honest, they're not on ESPN. I mean, to an extent, Compton's not, but they have him on Get Up along with his co-host Taylor Lewan on Get Up every Thursday morning. So he's at least got some ESPN connection there, but he's not afraid to call a spade, and he's just going at it. So kudos to him. How about the Diego Pavia stuff, though? F Indiana, F the Heisman voters. Interesting way to use your platform after you lose.
Yeah, I'm all for a heel turn if it's organic, but like,
it is very pro wrestling, isn't it?
Yeah, but trying to be the villain on purpose is just silly. Like, look, man, Vanderbilt had a great season, like legitimately. What they did this year was great. Do I think they're a playoff team? No, I do not. Do I think that they were going to make a run in the playoffs, even if they made it in? Absolutely don't. But with that being said, he's doing a whole lot to damage his image, which isn't great considering the NFL draft is coming up. Now, I don't think he was going to get drafted anyways, personally, but yeah, it's not a good look, man. Not a good look.
I'm real curious to see what does happen with him in the NFL draft. Is he even like a day 3, 5th round type? You just, like look at what's going on with the Indianapolis Colts right now. The fact that you have to dig out a fossil out of the ground and out of retirement and bring him back. But I don't know.
Yeah, I
definitely don't think Pavia is a first or second. He's definitely not a first day guy. I don't think he's a second day guy. I am curious to see if someone takes a flyer on him, though.
I mean, maybe late. I mean, that's always a possibility. But I watched Riley Leonard go in like the 7th round. He's 6'4", 215, and played for a national championship.
That's true.
Yeah,
and Riley Leonard. Yeah, I think he's. But look at, we'll save the Riley Leonard, Phillip Rivers stuff for a little bit. All right, we're going to continue with some more Notre Dame football talk coming up. We're going to talk a little Notre Dame basketball, men's and women's. Got some different news. The Mark Zachary stuff. We haven't even talked about Zachary on this show yet, just because things got pushed off so much at the end of last week. So we'll touch on that a little bit. The Notre Dame defensive back joining the men's basketball team. Some positive news in terms of KK Bransford and the injury that she has for Notre Dame women's basketball, and a little bit more Jeremiyah Love thoughts coming up here as well. With Trevor Trowbridge, I'm Sean Stiers. It's Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com continues. Hope you're having a good day as we roll into a new week. Christmas just a little bit more than a week away. It is almost here. Have you got all your stocking stuffers ready to go, Trevor?
For the most part, there's some last second shopping that I got to do. I mean, look, this is now the second Christmas that I've been married, and like everything you get, everything's all intertwined. And we're to the point, it's like if we need something, we're just going to go get it. So it's
That's
so
true.
tough to just be like,
It
wait
does.
till Christmas.
And that's,
Yeah.
I got to remind my wife all the time, all right, I need Christmas ideas. And then, she'll finally start sending them to me, and there'll be links to websites and stuff. It's like, all right, boom. That makes it as simple as possible. I just click the link. That reminds me there's one that I still have to click and make another order after I ordered
Boom.
3 or 4 things last week, I think. So, final thoughts on Jeremiyah Love. He did win the Doak Walker Award, became the first Notre Dame running back to ever win the Doak Walker Award. At the very least, a nice little consolation prize for Love, I thought. And I mean, even like best running back in the country. Like, I don't, I'm not saying it's a consolation prize, just in relation to the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't want to make this answer sound more simple than what it is, but he's the best Notre Dame running back that I've gotten to see in my lifetime. And yes, I'm on the younger side. I'm 28 years old, but there's people that I know that are older than I am that are also saying that he is probably the best Notre Dame running back that they have seen in their lifetime as well.
And this award, I looked at it, it's only been around since 1990. I thought it was even older than that. But still, like when you think about 1990, I mean, you've got Jerome Bettis, you've got the Brooks brothers, like you've got Tony Fisher. I'm going to leave some guys out of here, but there are like Darius Walker, Ryan Grant,
Julius Jones,
Kyron Williams, just a couple of years ago, stud in the NFL. Like a lot of really good running backs have come through Notre Dame. I did say Bettis, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So Ricky Waters, yet another one. Like in that time span, back to 1990, there have been a lot of really good running backs come through Notre Dame. So really, really awesome for Jeremiyah Love that he's able to become the first ever Notre Dame running back to win that award. Because a lot of, like, think about it, like Mark Ingram as an example at Alabama when he won the Heisman, or Derrick Henry, like those guys obviously won both awards. Jeremiyah Love able to pick it up. So pretty cool. He and Leonard Moore got first team All-American honors today, and Jadarian Price grabbed a third team honor. Good to see Jadarian get some love as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's one of the best running backs in the country. Nobody talks about. Dude's electric. Absolutely electric.
When did they stop doing the award show, by the way? Like, because like all of a sudden it was just like this slow trickle. These awards are being announced. It used to be, they did that award show. I don't know if maybe it's because of the expanded college football playoffs, and that's why they're doing it this way now.
Well, it's weird because like some of the award winners were announced prior, but then they had it on ESPN on Friday.
So they did do the show?
They did it, but they announced some of the winners before the show.
Right. And that's what I was thinking. They were just announcing these different awards. I didn't even realize they had the show.
Yeah. It flew under the radar for sure.
How about Noah Grubbs and the state championship game that he had? Huh?
What a way to end the high school career, huh?
Holy cow.
Oh, my goodness.
And for those who haven't seen it yet, like if you haven't seen the video floating around, just go to like Twitter X and in the search bar, type in Noah Grubbs because the video is out there. And so for anyone who hasn't heard about this, Noah Grubbs, obviously a 2026 signee. So he signed on the dotted line just a couple of weeks ago. He's coming to Notre Dame, and he played in the 7A Florida State Championship game over the weekend. It's pouring down rain for their state championship game. He plays for Lake Mary, and they are trailing 27-21. There's 6 seconds left in the game. And so the final snap of Noah Grubbs' career, they're near midfield. They're at the 42-yard line, and he heaves it towards the end zone where there's a gaggle of defenders and, like maybe 3 or 4 different potential receivers for his Lake Mary team down there. And the pass gets deflected into the hands of his teammate, Barrett Schultz. So he makes the catch at around the 5-yard line. A couple defenders jump on him, and then one of his teammates comes over and he hands him the ball, Tavarius Brundage, And then he eludes a couple defenders and takes a defender with him into the end zone to tie the game on the last actual play of the game. And then Lake Mary wins it with no time on the clock. How's that for a last play of your high school career?
No, I mean, it's fantastic. Shoot, Sean, the way that you were giving that play-by-play, I got a little chills, bro. I thought I was at the game. Come on now. Okay. I'm there.
I set it up. Did I describe it well enough? Like you could follow what was going on?
You did. I'm picturing it in my mind. I mean,
right.
Shoot. You should do radio or something, man. That was great.
I know. Maybe that's the career for me. Maybe I should give that a try sometime. I don't know. The play itself was insane, to go through all that. But did you I went and I found a couple stories and read like what happened before that is kind of even crazier because they are who are they playing? I've got the name of the team. Vero Beach is who they were playing. So Grubbs actually threw 3 interceptions in that game. And it was like pouring down rain. So I think that had, like played a part in the interceptions. But after the 3rd interception, there's less than 2 minutes left in the game. And so Vero Beach has the ball and they've got a 27-19 lead. They go to victory formation and they just they take a few knees to kill the clock because Lake Mary is out of timeouts. Well, what happened on their last play is they took a safety. And so they take a safety, which obviously gives Lake Mary 2 points. So now instead of 27-19, it's 27-21, and they've got a free kick to Noah Grubbs' team. And the return man on the free kick, returned it to the 42-yard line. So with 6 seconds left, the way Vero Beach coach, not much of a strategist, it doesn't sound like, giving up those 2 free points and giving them the ball. I think they kicked it with still like 20 seconds left or something like that.
That's correct. I did not know that part. I just thought that it was one of those where it's like they had the ball at the end of the game, they were driving down, and then that Hail Mary was the last second. I didn't know that's
too. And then like I said, I found a couple stories about it. It's like this is even more insane.
That's crazy.
But it happened that way. Yeah.
Oh, that's so crazy.
I know. I didn't get to see any of the Army-Navy game. Were you able? Because I was traveling with women's basketball to Virginia. Were you able to watch much or any of it?
No, I wasn't able to, unfortunately. It was in the lines of Christmas shopping. It was a Christmas shopping day for me on Saturday. So
nothing wrong with that. Crazy ending for them though, as well for Navy. I think I got there. I think I literally turned it on when I got into our hotel in Virginia, like right after the game had ended. And I saw like Navy guys singing the alma mater and all that kind of stuff, and those kind of things. So,
no, unfortunately, I didn't get to see. I did though. This was on Twitter or X. Did you hear about the Texas state championship? Like, there was like a state championship game in high school football down in Texas, and like the ending was crazy. It was like a team had to kick an extra point to tie it to make it 21-21 all. He missed it, and then the other team got the ball back. They were kneeing out the game, but they started to celebrate too early. Kid took off his helmet, threw it in the air before time had expired, so they got penalized. So then they end up having to punt. And then the other team had a good return, and then the kicker who missed the extra point kicked the game-winning field goal to win the extra point. I saw that though. That was crazy.
Man, I hadn't seen that. That sounds like nuts as well. All kinds of crazy things happening this weekend. Yeah. By the way, congratulations. I just saw this today. Notre Dame lacrosse head coach Kevin Corrigan was inducted into the Intercollegiate U.S. Men's Lacrosse Hall of Fame this weekend. So pretty cool for him. Just a year removed from winning his 2nd national championship. Wow. Yeah.
That's awesome.
He's been at it for a while. All right, little basketball. Little Notre Dame men's basketball. They beat Evansville 82-58 Saturday, and they're 9-3 now. I saw Jalen Harrelson had a pretty nice game, 20 points. Carson Tout had a monster double-double, 19 points and 15 rebounds. You've been able to watch a lot more on the men's side than me so far. So how are you feeling about this team without Marcus Burton right now?
Overall, I guess I'll kind of separate those into two. Overall, this is a really fun team to watch, guys. I mean, this is the men's basketball team is what I had hoped to see this season with the recruiting class coming in and some of the veteran leadership. I mean, they are now to the point where they have now multiple scores. Like last year when Marcus Burton went out, it was like, I don't know how many points you're gonna put up.
I know. Yeah.
But this year, I mean, you got Harrelson going for 20, and he wasn't even their best offensive performer. I mean, Braden Shrewsbury went 8 of 10 from 3. I mean, he was absolutely unconscious. I mean, that was great to see. All the true freshmen are contributing. Jalen Harrelson is a dude. I mean, last year the entire offense was run the ISO game with Burton, and this year now, unfortunately, that he's hurt, you still have Jalen Harrelson to play ISO ball with. I mean, he is a freak. So very, very happy up to this point. Just wish Burton was a part of it.
Yeah. And have they talked about a timeline for when he might be back at this point?
It's still undecided. Like they're hoping this season, but I know he had to get surgery on it. So it's just kind of a timetable of
That's right. That's right. When they made that announcement, it was like indefinite timeline.
Mm-hmm.
So
unfortunately.
Yeah. All right. Well, Salty wants to know if we have anything to say about Mark Zachary joining the men's basketball team and his impact. And he says, well, maybe Trevor's the one to ask since he's on the show tonight. I don't know what kind of impact Mark Zachary is going to have, but we know he's an athlete. You know, like speaking of state championships, we know he won a state championship at Ben Davis when he was in high school down in your neck of the woods in the Indy area. So like this is a guy who can play. And I know that he played like AAU ball, I think with Shrewsbury, didn't he? Like
it was the same like circuit, like the same league. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. That Braden Shrewsbury and Logan Imes played in. I mean, Salty, as far as the role and his impact, it's for depth.
Right.
Like they're not going to have him come in and start once they get into conference play. I don't think he's going to line up and be the starter when they go to Durham, North Carolina. I don't. But right now, the situation here is your primary ball handlers are Sir Muhammad, who's 6'6", Jalen Harrelson, who's 6'7", Braden Shrewsbury can, if needed. And then outside of that, Sir Muhammad, he's also 6'6", so Logan Imes is 6'4". It's strictly for depth. He unfortunately didn't get in against Evansville. Because of the final score, I was hoping he was going to get in at the end of the game. But, I mean, he had been a part of the basketball team for like a week at that point, so I wasn't hoping for it. Maybe against Purdue Fort Wayne that's coming up, but who knows?
It'd be like that. That would be, especially since ACC play is coming up here pretty soon. Like if you're going to get him in, maybe against Purdue Fort Wayne would be an opportunity to do it.
Did you see Shrewsbury's comments on it? He was asked about it after the Evansville game, and he talked about it. He's like, look, I knew he was a hooper. 33-0 in 2022 with Ben Davis when they won the state championship.
Yeah.
State runner-up the next year, almost repeated. And then he's like, there's a lot of guys on the Notre Dame football team that can hoop. And he was like, Leonard Moore can hoop, but I knew not to ask about him. So it was good, man.
I didn't see that. That's good. That's like, yeah. Like I think it's always fun when this kind of stuff happens, you know, like when you see a guy from another sport, you know, go and you know, sort of fill in, even if he's not going to go out and be a star. I think it's fun that they're able to make that kind of jump.
Agreed.
So, yeah. Women's basketball picked up a win at James Madison yesterday, 78-65. And that's one of those. James Madison came here. They did a home and home last year and this year. And like every once in a while, they'll go out and, you know, like play some of these mid-major type places on the road. And James Madison is actually, they're probably, I said this a few times during the broadcast, they're like Sun Belt Conference favored to win the Sun Belt. They've got the preseason Sun Belt Player of the Year. So like in terms of like that level teams that you could play, especially on the road, like that was probably one of the better mid-majors that you could play. And then Cass Prosper goes out and scores 24 points, and Hannah Hidalgo 13 points and 4 steals, and Malaya Coles had 17 points and 5 steals. So it was a nice little win, and now the men and women are both heading. This is finals, so they're off all week for finals, and they both play again next Sunday.
Okay, right on. Yeah, I mean, it's weird seeing the kind of the, I guess, the evolution of this women's basketball team. I mean, Sean You would know a lot more about this than I, but from the outsider's perspective, it's almost like the roles of the men's team and the women's team have kind of like flip-flopped. I mean, this women's team is built significantly closer to Notre Dame's men's team last year
True.
than this year. I mean, last year was Marcus Burton, and then Tay Davis would contribute from time to time, and when he would, it was in a big way.
Uh-huh.
And that's kind of how I look at Cass Prosper. But like everything runs through Hannah Hidalgo, just like last year, everything ran through Marcus Burton.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think what's like you mentioned, Prosper. This is 3 games in a row where she's been over 20 points.
Yeah.
And like at the start of the season, I remember like after the first game or the exhibition game or whatever it was, a couple games in, people are like, "Oh, Cass Prosper hasn't improved," and all this. Like, well, if we're 10 games in now, so we have a little bit more of a body of work, and you've seen continued improvement from her. And like even a couple games into the season, you could see, like her footwork was so different than last year. And she's also kind of assumed that same defensive presence kind of role that Sonia Citron had last year, where like yesterday, I mentioned the fact that James Madison had the preseason, their conference player of the year. Peyton McDaniel, she's averaging over 20 points per game. Well, she had 4 points in the first half and ended up with 10 points total. And it was because Kassan Prosper locked her down, for the majority of the game, and like that, like Hidalgo is more like open court and, just can do all these crazy things with the steals and all those different kind of things, that kind of defense. Whereas Prosper is the kind of player who is going to be the glove on the other team's best player and lock them down for a good portion of the night. And the fact now that she's almost tripled her scoring production from a season ago. So like, that's pretty exciting as well.
So sounds like some good things are cooking. So 10 games in, Sean, when you look at this team overall, how you feeling about them?
I mean, there's still a lot to be, like if they could have held on and won that game against Ole Miss in the ACC SEC Challenge a couple of weeks ago, probably have a little bit different feeling. But really, it's trending in the direction that I thought it would. I think that they're going to definitely be better than a majority of the teams in the ACC. And like whether or not they're able to compete with some of the elite teams, I think that we're going to find that out here pretty soon. But like Malaya Coles, as an example, the transfer from Wake Forest, a post player, like this last couple of weeks, because she started the season with an injury, had a leg injury, and was, kind of like, well, what exactly is she going to be able to give them? But she just looks more confident all the time, and she's been in double figures in 3 of the last 4 games now, and she just does like so many little things. She's very active in the paint, like she can block it, she can D up down in the post, and she's also just very confident posting up and making a little move in there. And then Ayanna Moore, the transfer from Vanderbilt, ditto with her. Like she's getting more confident all the time. So I think that it's really starting to kind of round into form, because both of those players came into the season with just like some nagging little, leg stuff. And I think that in terms of, overall cohesion and just like gaining the confidence of their play, I think that they're starting to do some of the things that they thought they were going to get from them. And, so it's getting a little bit more exciting from a team standpoint, kind of seeing the way it's shaping up. So, and then they got some good news as well. And Shepard is right. DeJesus, good player as well, especially like in terms of the defense, and, she'll knock down a couple threes a game and that kind of thing. So, Tenzin wants to know, are we confident in either team being tournament qualifiers still, or are we on the fence? I've said all along, the women are going to be a tournament team. It's just a matter of what kind of seed they're going to get. Like it's like where they are right now, I would say it's doubtful that they're going to be like a 1, 2, 3 seed. They ended up, like in that lower seed than they thought they were going to get last year. They're going to be a tournament team. It's just a matter of how high the seed is going to be. It's probably, as of right now, based on the ranked teams that they faced and how they fared, it's more likely that they'll probably be on the road in the first couple rounds of the tournament. But I have every confidence they're still going to be a tournament team this year. What do you think about the men?
Yeah, it's close because what version of the men's team are we going to get? Are we going to get the Missouri version of this men's team where they host an undefeated Missouri team and beat them at home? Or are we going to get like the Ohio State or Houston version of this team? Now, the thing that I want to make abundantly clear is like, look, in their 3 losses, they lost by a combined 21 points. In basketball, that's not a lot. Like that's
Right.
that's what we have to keep in mind. It's not like a football 21 points. It's a basketball 21 points. The game against Houston was competitive. They were the 3rd ranked team in the country at the time. They were very competitive with Ohio State on the road, and they had the opportunity to win that game. So conference play for the men's team will really dictate my feelings towards it because the out of conference play stuff, it's real hit or miss.
Right. Yep. KK Bransford, real quick. We got to take another break here. I just realized what time it is. They got some really good news with Bransford because she injured her knee last Thursday against Morehead State, and the way she went down and the way it sounded and looked and everything else, everyone I think was fearing the worst right away. And Neil Ivey announced yesterday it's not going to be a season-ending injury, so like there's no ACL tear or any of that kind of thing. And tip of the hat to their strength coach, Clive Brewer, because from what I understand, the way it was explained to me, basically the reason her ACL didn't tear is because of how strong her legs are, KK's legs. That's what saved her. And like, if you look at her quads, like those kind of things, very strong legs. And, so that's why, there are, some other things going on there, and there's no timetable on her return. But, the very fortunate news is there's no tear, and she is expected to come back at some point this season. It's just a matter of getting that rehabbed and, how soon they can get to work on some of that kind of stuff. So really good news for KK Bransford and the team as well, that they'll be getting her back at some point. All right, let's take our final break this hour, and then back to wrap things up. We'll touch on a couple more things next. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Winding down the first hour of Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Sean Stiers and Trevor Trowbridge. Oh, man, I was just listening to the forecast. We're supposed to get rain again later this week. That's the most miserable thing at this time of year is when the cold rain comes, because then it freezes overnight and everything just turns into a freaking ice sheet. I'm fine if there's snow on the ground. Just like rain, leave me out of it. But apparently that's what we've got coming.
Yeah, the weather down here doesn't look much better. I mean, by Wednesday, it'll be 40. Thursday, it'll be 51. And then by Friday, it'll be back down to 30. I mean, it's just going to be gross.
Delightful. You know what's delightful? The Bears pummeled the Cleveland Browns, and they are now 10-4 this season. Amazing. The second best record in the NFC behind the 11-4 Rams. The Chicago Bears, with a matchup against the Packers Saturday night, are in position to play at least a home game in the playoffs right now. Green Bay lost to the Broncos yesterday. Even worse, they lost Micah Parsons to a torn ACL. And like someone was asking how the Cowboys feel about that. I mean, obviously no one's going to wish an ACL injury on anyone, but Bears and Packers duking it out. Should be a fun one Saturday night.
Dude, the Bears have impressed me this year, man. I mean, look, I have a couple buddies who are Bears fans, and we've talked quite a bit about football. And the thing that I've always said is, like, look, the Bears have had the pieces on the roster for quite some time. They just have a coach. They've had coaches in the past that just can't point them in any sort of direction. And now they have a good coach in Ben Johnson, and now they're one of the best teams in the NFL. So, I mean, hey, hats off to them, man. It's impressive.
I know. And in the meantime, I just got more misery last night. We were sitting on the, in the plane, and I'm watching like the three. I think I watched like 3 or 4 possessions of the Cowboys. I turned it on my phone right after the Brandon Aubrey fake field goal. Did you see that little highlight?
I did.
That's one of my favorite fakes. And I mean, Brandon Aubrey's an athlete. Like that guy obviously played soccer at Notre Dame. He played professional soccer, so that guy can run a little bit. I'm surprised it took him this long to do that. The unfortunate thing was he actually missed a couple of field goals. The more unfortunate thing was they settled for field goals all the time. That's what they're turning into. So I won't go off on my Cowboys rant. Jesse will be here tomorrow. We can save it.
There you go.
How about old man Rivers coming out of retirement though for the Colts? And they, like speaking of field goals, they get the field goal they think is going to win it, but then the Seahawks go right down and win it themselves on a field goal.
Yeah, man. A lot of people are gonna, talk about how the offense did enough. Yeah, Blake Groupie. Shout out to him.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like a 60-yard field goal, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah. Outside in Seattle. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to Blake Groupie. I mean, look, a lot of people, I live in Indianapolis. I hear it quite a bit. And the biggest takeaway was, the offense led the potential game-winning drive. Defense couldn't get a stop. Like, defense held Seattle out of the end zone. They were one of the highest scoring teams in the NFL.
Right.
I mean, look, it's a cool story. Phillip Rivers coming out of retirement. I have to believe that Riley Leonard could have done a better job. Now,
I think so too.
Maybe
wasn't he was injured though, right? Like, wasn't that, or did they just decide?
He was like questionable. Like he had like a knee issue. I think if he was still just named the starter, especially knowing Riley, I think he would have played.
Yeah.
But I digress. I find it hard to believe that the best option was a quarterback.
A guy who hasn't played in 5 years. I agree.
Yeah. I mean, it was rough. There were a couple snaps where he dropped back to pass and he just fell over.
Yeah.
I mean,
like he was not mobile to begin with, and however much extra weight he's got on right now, he is even less mobile. And the Colts, man, they're obviously desperate because it was only maybe a month ago they had one of the best records in the AFC, and they were playing for the chance to be the top seed in the AFC, and now they've lost 4 straight, and they're all the way down to 8th in the conference, and only 7 teams get into the playoffs. So they are right squarely on the bubble right now, trying to play their way in, and they're desperate for anything that they can get. But I tend to agree. We've seen Riley Leonard and what he can do. I have to think that he would, he played pretty well last week. It's just that, as a team, they didn't play well enough.
No, I mean, and then their acquisition to get Sauce Gardner ended up not panning out because he got hurt. He was also out this past week too. It's bad for the Colts. It's definitely rough.
Yeah.
Definitely rough.
Outbound is asking, so Leonard is off the Colts or did he get hurt? He is the backup quarterback to Phillip Rivers right now. So
I did read that Anthony Richardson, I think, got cleared. So for what that's worth.
I mean, honestly, if I'm the Colts, like that's the guy that I'm moving on from.
Yeah,
I
me as well.
I don't see much of a future there. I mean, look what Daniel Jones was supposed to be washed up, and look how they played before he got hurt. So, and then speaking of injuries, big one to Patrick Mahomes. Like they were already going to lose that game, but it's a pretty big punch in the face when you see your run of 3 straight Super Bowls and 9 consecutive AFC West championships just go flushing down the toilet with a torn ACL to your starting quarterback. And so now not only is this season shot, but it puts a big question mark for Kansas City going into next year with a quarterback who's going to be coming back from an ACL tear.
Yeah, I think I read somewhere. My buddy told me that this is the first season, I think, since the mid '90s where the playoffs won't feature one of Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, or Peyton Manning.
Wow. I didn't even think about it that way. That's crazy to think about.
Wild.
No kidding. All right, we're going to wrap things up in the first hour with that. Hour number 2, a wild and crazy rapid fire comes your way. Bobby Hensley's going to be joining us, so stay tuned. We've got that. Plenty more Notre Dame football talk and more in rapid fire. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. And we roll into hour number 2, along with Trevor Trowbridge and Bobby Hensley. I'm Sean. So
Yes.
You're grunting over there already? What is going on, Mr. Hunter Man?
Oh, I'm not a hunter, man. This is just cheap hoodie I got at Meyer.
All right. You look like you're ready to put on the camo and go out and do a little deer hunting or something.
No, I couldn't stand hunting. It just seems boring to me.
You're not a big hunter guy. You're not going to like sit in the blind and do all that kind of stuff.
No, if I just want to sit around and do nothing, I'll just watch your old shows.
Well, thanks for the views.
yeah. Hi, Trevor. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. Good Lord, we're getting off hot. Let's do this thing, man.
I know. Trevor, I'll just start with you, and maybe I'll just mute Bobby like I typically want to do. But fill in the blank. Diana Rossini's weekend report for The Athletic that Marcus Freeman is on the New York Giants list of candidates for their head coaching vacancy, and she expects Freeman to garner interest from other NFL teams is blank.
To be expected. I mean, look, I'm working under the notion if Marco Rubio decided to step down from being the Secretary of State, I'm pretty sure there'd be an article talking about how Marcus Freeman is a prime candidate to step up and be a part of the cabinet. I mean, look, man, Marcus Freeman is one of the hottest coaches in college football. You know, especially after the run that they went on last year, 10 straight wins this year. He's building a great program, #1 recruiting class in the country by some services. So I understand the garnering the interest, but it was talked about last year when he had the connections drawn back from the Chicago Bears. You know, he has connections and ties to the Bears. Like, yeah, they drafted him. He never stepped foot on the field. I mean, Marcus Freeman himself even said, like, I don't look, NFL is a different beast. Like, I got drafted. I never played. Like, it's different. So,
yeah, I think this is pretty normal. Like even when Brian Kelly had his run in 2012, he was going to the Eagles. He was done. Anytime a Notre Dame coach is doing well and an NFL job opens up, that's where they're going to say they're going to go, because especially now all the college jobs are filled and he's going to be the hottest name. He was the hottest name through all that stuff too. So I think it just makes sense that he's, like you said, he could run for anything. Politician, coach, whatever. They might even sign him to play linebacker on a few teams. But I think it's just normal through the Notre Dame process. Because like we were talking last week, their polarity. Everybody knows who Marcus Freeman is. Everybody knows what he's done at Notre Dame the last few years. And he's built a great program that we thought was already at the top. And he just put them even more up there. So I think that's a name that everybody does want. I don't think it's completely false that they're just throwing his name out there. I think everybody does want him.
Well, and that's the most. I think the only real significance with Rossini actually reporting this is because it felt like, well, duh, like this is it felt like this was floating around for a while, but really it started with like those things, about a week or so ago, maybe even a little bit before that in Vegas, Freeman is the favorite to get the Vegas, or to get the New York Giants job. But there was there were no actual reports. It was just for whatever reason, Vegas had moved him kind of to the top of the leaderboard. So like, it felt like, duh, yeah, of course, we know, but at least there's some actual reporting on it now. But at the same time, kind of going to what you said, like, it feels like this is going to become just an annual thing. Whenever there's an NFL opening, that Marcus Freeman's name is going to be attached to it, because it's 2 years in a row now that it's happened.
Well, this might be negative to say, but okay, I'll ask both of you. What would be something you think that would entice Freeman away? NFL it?
It could be the NFL, but I don't think it now. If you're saying what could entice him away, I think the only thing in the short term, and I'm not saying he would, but like, let's say Ohio State came open tomorrow. Let's say something crazy happened at Ohio State, like happened at Michigan last week. Like, that's the only thing short term that I think that could really interest Marcus Freeman.
Yeah, I think like maybe even like if Day ends up in the NFL himself, and then that becomes open. So maybe not even as drastic as what happened at Michigan. But I don't think Freeman's looking to leave. I think part of his whole thing is how genuine he is. I know he's not a Notre Dame man, but he's really become one. He's learning how, like, every year he becomes more and more solidified with Notre Dame, and further and further away from Ohio State. I'm not saying he would never go there if it was available. That's the only thing. I don't think the NFL is what is on his radar.
No, I don't think so. I mean, look, I'm not naive to the fact that at some point Marcus Freeman is no longer going to be the head coach at Notre Dame. I just don't think that's any time in the next 5, maybe even 10 years. That's just me personally.
I would agree.
I think that at some point he'll start to really consider the NFL. I think that's years away. Because if Notre Dame kind of returns to the pinnacle of college football, and they're already like they're knocking on the door right now, what other job do you go and take? I mean, it's the same conversation, different levels.
Well,
like Nick
because
Saban was never going to go anywhere else in college. It was just
crazy. It's crazy to think about. But Freeman has been the head coach at Notre Dame for 4 years. So that is already a third of the time that Brian Kelly was at Notre Dame. Like 4 years have gone by in the blink of an eye, it seems like. And the 12 years that Brian Kelly spent here, that's the longest anyone has been the head coach at Notre Dame. So, like, think about it that way. They're like, Marcus Freeman is already a third of the way there, and he's not even 40 years old yet. And so there's a shelf life on all of these jobs. Like, is he going to end up being like Dabo? You know, does he stay at Notre Dame as long as Dabo, because Dabo is going on 2 decades now already at Clemson. Like, it feels like, especially obviously if he continues to have the success that he's had, like at least for the short term, like the job is not done as far as Marcus Freeman is concerned, I think, at Notre Dame. I don't see him pulling the plug just to go explore and like, oh yeah, the NFL interests me now. I mean, he's got a young family, and and I realize a lot of these coaches have families and stuff like that, but he's really young. His family is still really young. And like, I don't feel like he's just going to pull up roots in this short amount of time to go dabble in the NFL and just see what the NFL is about. Now, Justin in the YouTube chat says, why don't names like Ryan Day or Kirby Smart come up with these jobs as well? What are your thoughts on that, Trevor?
I think it's because they both have national championships. Like, once you win a national championship at the college level, like there are some organizations that just kind of view you as like an untouchable. Like, you think of college football, like Ryan Day and Kirby Smart have both been head coaches at the collegiate level longer than Marcus Freeman has. They both have national championships. So I think what a lot of NFL organizations want to do is they want to find like that hot and up and coming coach, but kind of get them up to the NFL before they reach like the pinnacle of success in college. That's just my opinion. I could be off there, but it's not like an age thing. I did not know this, and maybe it's just because I assumed Kirby Smart was older. Kirby Smart and Ryan Day are the same age. They're both 46. Really? I did not know that. Yeah, I thought Kirby Smart was like 60. I think it's just because he's been coaching for so long. But yeah, man, Justin, I think that's short answer. That's kind of where I'm at with that one.
Well, I think part of it too, like you said, that they're at their alma maters, both of them. So I think that's a reason why that they also are entrenched there, because it's not impossible. Jim Harbaugh, I mean, different reasons, I guess. Stop bringing up Michigan, but he won a championship and bolted for the pros.
Very true.
And I think that Marcus Freeman also has a different personality than those other guys, and I think that personality, both his lead, like the people skills, essentially, I think that is part of the, not only has he shown that he can coach and recruit and do all those things, the way he relates to young players, I think that is a big part of it as well. And like, especially when you look at a guy like Kirby Smart, and great coach, great college coach, but he is much more in the Nick Saban mold, like from a personality standpoint. And I don't feel like that kind of personality, and maybe Ryan Day's as well, plays the same way that Marcus Freeman's would, with NFL professional guys.
Not what you asked, but relevant to this conversation. I don't understand why every time a pro team, not every single one of them, but they always look for the top college coaches to go pro. And it doesn't work all the time. By and large, it usually doesn't work that if a successful college coach goes pro, it works. So I don't understand the whole process of that. I guess the Giants are a team that's had a lot of bad coaching hires anyway, so they're just trying to find a new avenue.
But I mean, like, look at a guy like Harbaugh's a little different. We'll see how that ends up playing out. Like, he's just got so much more of a quirky personality, but he's won at both levels, obviously. But I think really Harbaugh, and you have to go back to Pete Carroll, but Pete Carroll more of a, like a player's coach kind of guy, like what the personality, like he relates and is a very positive, upbeat kind of guy. Now, Marcus Freeman is an upbeat, positive kind of guy who will get into you as well, but so would Pete Carroll, So I think that I'm not saying that they're the exact same kind of personality, but they are much more similar. Like Pete Carroll and Marcus Freeman, their personalities much more similar than Ryan Day, Kirby Smart, I think, and Marcus Freeman.
Yeah, that all makes sense. That checks. And I'm not saying that there's no coaches that have done both. Obviously, you can go over time, and like I see Coughlin in the chat. Now, yeah, I'm just saying by and large, I've seen like even Nick Saban left college to go pro and destroyed the Dolphins and set them back several years before their rebuild. So I don't see Freeman going anywhere to go full circle on this. I don't think he has the allure to go to the pros right now. I think that the only thing that could entice him to even hesitate would be the Ohio State job. I don't think he's going to be like Lane Kiffin or Brian Kelly or anybody like that. I think he really is committed to what he's building. I think he's buying what he's selling. I think it makes him legit.
Salty says Carroll's a player's coach, I guess, as long as the players aren't the Raiders. I think that's like the Raiders are just such a unique island unto themselves.
Well, I don't even know if the Raiders have players anymore.
Yeah.
So he can't be a player's coach without players.
Exactly.
The Raiders' offensive line might be the worst offensive line I've ever seen in the history of football.
How about Dylan McCullough showing up at the Heisman ceremony for Jeremiyah Love, though? That was
awesome.
It was cool.
Yeah. Speaking of Jeremiyah Love, here's what he said on ESPN during the Heisman ceremony when they asked him about his future. Quote, "I'm most likely done. I haven't made an official announcement or anything like that, but I've been in discussions with my family and will be coming to a conclusion here pretty soon, probably within the next week or so. Maybe there's a small chance I continue playing collegiate ball, but I'm discussing it with my family and an announcement is coming soon." End quote. So what do you think we should make of that?
I mean, I think that's more of a testament to who Jeremiyah Love is as a person than it is his probability of coming back and playing college ball. Like, I think he's very dedicated to this university. I mean, Brian, do a lot of shows at 1 o'clock. Bob, look, Bobby, I think there's a lot of validity to what you said about Marcus Freeman. I would also echo that same sentiment with Jeremiyah Love. And that, like, he doesn't like how things ended. It's rough knowing that the last time he ever suited up in the blue and gold, or I guess really the white and gold, he got injured. It didn't look the same. It didn't end the way that a lot of us thought that it would. So I think that's just more of him having an internal battle of like, I don't want to leave things how I left it, but there's not much more I can do in South Bend. I think that's the internal battle, not, oh, should I come back and further my chances in the NFL by playing one more year at Notre Dame? It's not that.
All right. So what's your percentage that he'll come back?
2.
Yeah.
I think the same.
Yeah.
I think the same.
I agree with you 100%. I think I believe it's genuine, but I think he already has 1.5 feet out the door. I think the reason it's 2% that he hasn't already made an announcement is because the NIL money. So maybe that can help save a guy like that because, all right, you make this much next year in the pros, but you can make almost all that back in college, play a shorter schedule, be back where you're king of the world, kind of, versus pros where you're a dime a dozen. I'm not saying he won't be good, just, what I mean? Like could win a Heisman next year, could make a playoff run next year, could, like you say, put a storybook ending to a college career that would be one of the most epic college careers, especially if you brought a championship back to Notre Dame. But I agree that the percentage is less than 3.
I think that he wanted his Heisman weekend to be about the Heisman weekend. And, like you said, in the next week or so, they're going to announce something. He probably doesn't have his video or whatever is going to go up on his IG and or TikTok and whatever else, quite together yet. But the Heisman was about the Heisman. And whenever he makes that announcement about his future, that's what it'll be about. I would just be completely shocked if he were to come back. And, like this came up on the IB Champions Lounge over the weekend. There was a thread about it. And, look, like, because there are people who still think, well, what if Notre Dame were to put together this great NIL package and whatever else? So, okay, so let's say they're able to put together an $8 million NIL package to keep Jeremiyah Love at Notre Dame. So, okay, so that's $8 million for next season. Well, if Jeremiyah Love gets drafted in the top 10, which everybody pretty much expects he's going to get drafted if he declares for the draft next year, that is somewhere in the vicinity of $32 to $40 million guaranteed, just based on being a top 10 draft pick. So if Jeremiyah Love comes back to Notre Dame next year for $8 million, then ends up suffering some kind of catastrophic injury, because this is all essentially risk reward. So he suffers some kind of catastrophic injury, then he's just gonna, that's a minimum of another $30 million that he's not going to have. Like, well, it's just not realistic to think that even if you push all your chips onto the table and you give him whatever amount it is for next year, that's still, with a professional contract, you're talking about life-changing money when you're talking about $30 plus million that you're leaving on the table.
Well, I mean, and the other aspect of this that just it flies under the radar, and I understand why. But now with the house settlement and the salary cap, it's not just as easy as pay him whatever he wants. Let's say they do that with Jeremiyah Love. Okay, who aren't you paying then?
Right.
Like
everybody else.
Literally. I mean, like, where does that money go then too? So it starts to get real tricky.
Plus, I mean, that position, you're the one taking the most hits on the field every game. So the chances of injury are higher. There's a reason why not a lot of running backs go that high in the NFL draft to begin with. So the fact if you can be marketed that high, I'd say that's a pretty good reason to forego your last year of eligibility.
So is anyone here higher than a 2 in terms of confidence that Jeremiyah Love would actually come back next year on a scale of 1 to 10? Yeah, we're all in the same boat then.
I thought 2 was generous.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's already a foregone conclusion.
Like Outbound in the YouTube chat there is talking about Jadarian Price, and it's the same thing. Like, he's been here for 4 years now, and he's already had a major injury with that Achilles. And like he's not going to get drafted as high as Jeremiyah Love, but I'd be shocked if he doesn't end up being drafted in the, like 3rd round at worst, just because he's a running back. But he is widely regarded, along with Love, as one of the top running backs in college football, and he's going to be a great pro as well, and he's going to go make a lot of money. So I would just be completely shocked if either one of those guys comes back.
But as a fan, wouldn't it be awesome?
Oh, it would. Yeah. But again, like, life-changing money and risk reward in terms of what you're risking to come back for one more year. It would be awesome if they said, you know what, coming back and we're going to win a national championship.
Well, it's like year. Nobody really scoffs at when they sit out a bowl game, because it's like, well, what's the reward? I mean, the whole team sat out the bowl game this year, but the starters haven't been playing anyway. Now you're taking that,
but they also sat out in part because guys like Love and Price would have sat out anyway.
Yeah. Sure, that's exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying now you're taking that mindset and put it on a whole season for next year.
We got to get into a break here so we don't get too far behind. So we will continue with rapid fire coming up next. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. We continue rapid fire. Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com with Trevor Trowbridge and Bobby Hensley. I'm Sean Stiers. So, after Notre Dame was left out of the college football playoff, one of the first media members Pete Bavacqua talked to was Yahoo's Ross Dellinger. You might remember Dellinger was tweeting some thoughts and comments that he got from Pete Bavacqua the day that Notre Dame was left out of the college football playoff a week ago last Sunday. So Bavacqua told Dellinger about that memorandum of understanding with the college football playoff that will give Notre Dame an automatic spot in the playoffs going forward if they rank in the top 12. So do you buy or sell that it was a mistake for Bavacqua to divulge that information before he made his public media blitz over the ensuing 2 days last week?
I think overall I'll sell it. Like I understand like the shock and awe of hearing all of that, but look, like this was something that was in place before. Like I think a lot of people heard about the news of like the MOA and they're like, oh, Notre Dame put that in because they were left out of this year's playoffs. Like that's always been a part of it. Now, whether people knew that or not, like I don't really think that's Pete Bavacqua's responsibility. So I'm selling that he should have waited, and when I mean people, I don't mean fans. I don't expect fans to know that. I'm talking more like other athletic directors that are like, this is ridiculous. It's like, yeah, well, you signed off on it. So, I mean, I don't really know what you're all upset about. So again, if you signed off on something you didn't fully understand, that is also on you. So I'm selling. I don't think
the athletic directors didn't have any say in that. It was their conference commissioners that were signing off on that. The guys at the ADs actually.
Sure.
So you're selling that he should have waited longer?
I'm selling that it was a mistake.
Okay. I agree. I sell as well. I say might as well point it out, get it out there, because that's less questions you're going to get about how angry Notre Dame is they didn't make it, and like why are you – it takes a shine off of why aren't you guys going to the bowl game in front of his media tour or whatever. So I think it's fine that he brought it up when he did. I'm good with it. Like, just have it out there. It gives him an easy question because he knows what they're going to ask. He'll already know what he wants to answer with. I think he's just hiding in plain sight at that point.
Yeah, I mean, because like you said, this was there, and it's funny that it appears to have come to as such a surprise to so many people. And this is something, like it was like one of many things that he had, that he was fielding questions about over the next couple of days. And one of the many things that sort of the Notre Dame bashers were coming at him about. But I think that I did think it was interesting, like when it would come up, when he would do the different interviews, and in his press conference, he's like, well, I really don't want to talk too much about the MOU, but then he would proceed to answer questions about it as well. So I sell that like it matters, because like so much of this whole Notre Dame conversation, in about a month or so, none of it's really going to matter. It's all going to die down, and next year's going to roll around, and most people aren't even going to remember that aspect of it. People are going to go, oh yeah, like it's not going to come up again until the college football playoff rankings start coming out again.
Well, and I think some of the I guess outrage, you could call it, that sparked from those comments too, is like people's lack of understanding of what it truly was. Like Notre Dame doesn't have a signed agreement that says the committee has to rank them 12th. It's just if they are ranked 12th or inside the top 12, then they get a bid. Like that's putting faith in the committee to keep Notre Dame ranked at 12th if it's as close as what it was this season. The same kind of committee that kept Alabama at 9th after losing by 21 points. I don't think that carries much weight.
For the third time.
Yeah. Like, I mean, for people that are outraged, like, oh, so they just get an automatic in. It's like, yeah, if they're in the rankings, like
because that's the other aspect of this, is they still have to be, like what's to keep the committee based on what we saw this time, just from ranking them 13th rather than in the top 12. Like it's still up to the whim of the committee and where they decide to rank them. Like they could be sitting there at number 11 for a month, and then all of a sudden the committee drops them to 13th in the last rankings. So, like there's that. And I just feel like everyone's lost trust in the actual process in the committee itself.
100%.
That's what I was just going to say. I go, yeah, because that's the only flaw or problem that we see with the committee that everybody wants to attack is the Notre Dame. If they're in the top 12, making a 12-team tournament, That just seems like nonsense. I don't understand why there would be any outrage. I want to know next year when those rankings start coming out on those Tuesdays, how much people take that to heart next year, though.
Right.
That might be a bigger thing than Notre Dame being the top 12. Well, guess what? If they're 11-1 at the end of the year, they're going to be in the top 12 anyway. I don't even understand why it's an issue.
Do you think that schools are really going to boycott Notre Dame over this because they're upset, that they're apparently just finding out that Notre Dame does have this stipulation?
I mean, I'm trying to think of a way to say this politely. We're on the radio. Okay. Schools that won't impact Notre Dame's strength of schedule, sure. Like I heard it floating around that Purdue might take Notre Dame off the schedule. That's fine. They're going to get a bump in strength of schedule if Purdue decides to not play Notre Dame. Like that, I promise you that's fine. But schools
that's good for Notre Dame and it's good for Purdue as well. Like I don't know that Purdue got enough attendance after, out of Notre Dame's game there last year that they, would want to just like where Purdue is as a program right now. I wouldn't want Notre Dame on my schedule.
Yeah, they might get a third win.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly.
Do I think some schools will? Yeah, I do. Do I think it's going to be, Alabama or Auburn or Clemson who they have these deals with? No, I don't.
See, I guess that's what I'm kind of thinking too, is I don't think that they're going to lose anybody that's already on the schedule. I think maybe 5-10 years from now, we'll see what the landscape of college football is because it changes every year at this point. So it's almost impossible to look that far in the future. But I think for right now, where they're at, I don't think they lose anybody off their schedule. There's too much money involved for everyone there's not that many non-conference matchups now.
And that's it. At the end of the day, like, what do people want? They want money. And how do you get money? As Pete Bavacqua pointed out with what he was talking about with the ACC and the fact that 23% of ACC home games sell out when they don't involve Notre Dame, 90% sell out when they do involve Notre Dame. And it's like that everywhere. Like not every game is selling out across the country, and you want butts in the seats at the end of the day. And Notre Dame is going to bring you a lot more butts in seats. And that's why I don't think that this is going to be nearly as big an issue as, some national reporters who are trying to, get clicks on their story, want to make you think that it's going to be. Okay, a couple athletic directors said they're mad. All right, well, guess what? People are always mad at Notre Dame. Do you think that that's going to change? No, but again, they're willing to sign up for that because they know that by having Notre Dame as a home game, they've got a much greater chance of selling tickets than if they're going to schedule Alabama, Birmingham, or, name your off-brand school, whoever it happens to be. Purdue, even, like by scheduling Purdue as opposed to Notre Dame is what I'm saying, So, I don't think this is nearly going to be the big deal as it's been made out to be.
It's like you said earlier, it's just something to talk about for right now that we're going to forget about in a couple months. We'll get through March Madness, spring practice, and then we'll be ready for fall. And we won't even think about in the future who they're going to schedule until the end of the year next year when it comes out. Well, they played so-and-so, and this was a tougher loss or tougher win. So I think it's all smoke for now.
I don't know who won IC. We will play Notre Dame any day 7-2 record. I don't know what that is, but
I mean, preferably Saturdays. I mean, a Wednesday game is inconvenient.
Right. So Joe Klatt was on the Colin Cowherd show last week, and Klatt had this to say about Group of 5 teams being part of the college football playoff.
There's no reason for Tulane and JMU to be in this thing. Here's the truth. All right, Colin. The truth is that the Group of 5 or 6, whatever you want to call it now, as conferences have changed around, the only reason that they're included or have access to this playoff is to avoid litigation. It's to avoid an antitrust lawsuit. That's the only reason that they've got access to this, is because of the over litigious nature of what's gone on in college football through the last 2 decades. Yeah. And it's not good for anybody. Listen, I think it would be better for that level of school, the mid-majors, to go play their own national championship. Sure. I think that would be amazing, like the FCS does, and allow these teams to go out there and crown a national champion. So I'm with you on that. I just don't think it doesn't serve anybody's purpose. I don't think it makes college football better. I don't think it makes the playoff better. And candidly, it doesn't help those programs to go out there and potentially get beat badly.
All right, so Joel Klett says get the group of 5 teams out of the college football playoff and let them play their own championship as opposed to playing in the, the current college football playoff championship. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, theoretically, it's a great concept. I'll say that. But what does this all come down to at the end of the day, guys?
Money.
Money.
Is a group of 5 championship going to generate enough revenue
exactly
compared to an entry in the college football playoff, even if you're going to be one and done? No.
Exactly. I mean, you would make more money from a hypothetical NIT tournament in college football than you would from a group of 5 tournament.
And that's essentially what this would be. It would be the equivalent of the NIT versus the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I mean, just think about it this year. If you take the rankings for what they were, I mean, the teams in an NIT tournament are like, let's say you take like the next 8 that didn't make it. I mean, you'd have Notre Dame, USC, Michigan, Vanderbilt, Texas. Like that would draw more TV ratings than UNLV versus South Florida. I mean, because people don't, unfortunately, I'm not saying I agree with it. I watch them, but like I watch those kind of games. But by the masses, they're not tuning in to watch UNLV versus USF. It just wouldn't make enough money. So theoretically, I think it's a great concept. I just don't think it would make enough money. But I do agree that the group of 5 automatic bid in the playoffs, it's hard for me to believe the committee when they're like, our job is to get the 12 best teams in. It's like, your job is to get like the 10, 11 best teams in and then the group of 5.
Right.
Then it turns into whatever rankings because this team was up high enough and won their conference. Yeah, I think that like they say, Joe Allen says, FCS gets a tournament every year on ESPN. Ask North Dakota State how much money they generate in those playoffs.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I mean, they got knocked out already this year, shockingly. But, if you're into any good football you can watch all the time, but it doesn't get the casual fan that a playoff does. I don't know. Maybe instead of having Tulane and James Madison, have them play one game, and then that winner goes to the playoff. So you can have like a play-in, I guess. So there's still an opportunity to be represented, but they're not taking 2 spots up in the playoff.
Yeah. And then again, the tough part, and I agree. I don't, again, conceptually, I understand.
Right.
But if you have them playing a play-in game, in theory, if they were to play for a national championship game, they would have to play 18 games. Like including their conference championship and the play-in and then the 14 playoff field. Now, do I think James Madison or Tulane are going to play for a national championship? No, I don't. So, nah.
But you're right. The semantics are there.
So I agree with what Klatt is saying in theory. In a perfect world, I think it would be great to have this group of 5, championship bracket as opposed to including them in. But part of the reason they are included in is there's like appeasement to, like basically the group of 5 was guaranteed a piece of the pie because of the fact that Boise State was left out for as long as they were. And the fact that prior to Cincinnati, before, they became part of the Big 12, in 2021, when they made the college football playoff, they became the first group of 5 team to ever get into the college football playoff, so like there was, you were basically, again, keeping everybody happy. I think in terms of the current format and keeping the group of 5 in, but one, I don't think they're going to actually kick out the group of 5 teams, but I think the easiest way to do it, as opposed to like what Bobby is saying, having these 2 teams play off to get in, just like with the ACC, all the ACC had to do for their tiebreaker was have a rule in place that says like in case of a tiebreaker, the highest ranked college football playoff team gets into the ACC championship. Well, in terms of the group of 5 solution, all you've got to do is have a threshold and say the 4 highest ranked conference champions get in, but you also have to be ranked at least in the top 15 to qualify to get that spot. Like it shouldn't just be, okay, James Madison is sitting down here at 22nd or whatever they were. And the fact that the playoff committee basically just made up a spot to get them that ranking to begin with. All you've got to do is say, okay, the 4 highest ranked champions get in as long as you're ranked at least in the top 15. in the playoff rankings. And then if you don't, well, it's the teams that actually deserve to be there get in. I think it's that simple, and we wouldn't, again, we wouldn't have these, this situation to begin with. Whether or not they'll actually go back and include some kind of stipulation, I don't know. But I don't think they're going to kick out the group of 5, and I don't think that they're going to, end up having a group of 5 championship. Although, considering what bowl games have come to, I think a group of 5 championship, might be a nice compromise in terms of ESPN, because you would have some actual compelling games that actually matter that people might watch, that maybe you could play, in some of those bowl sites and, help draw some interest to the bowl sites.
And you'd have good games. Yeah. You're talking about the rankings and being in the top 15, which I understand. And I agree with you. But then we're going to get into the area where Notre Dame, if they're number 11 or 12, would they purposely put them 13 to not put them in? If James Madison was ranked 14th, maybe they bump him down to 16th just so they don't make that threshold.
Right.
So I think you can see a lot of manipulation by a committee by even putting their own rules out there, which I don't think is right, because they're not ranking the teams in order of talent or in order of ability to win the championship. They're kind of just putting people in order to make it so that they fill their narrative.
Final break, and then we're back to wrap up Rapid Fire, Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com. All right, we got just a couple minutes to go here before we wrap things up. Outbound was asking about my broadcast yesterday of Notre Dame women's basketball. It says he was listening to the women's game for a bit, did they end up doing something to that girl that kept screaming bloody murder? It was actually a boy. And I thought it was a girl as well, but it was a young boy sitting just a couple rows behind me who just started doing the scream, like to try to distract players at the free throw line and some of that kind of stuff. It was, oh man. So, if you heard it on the radio and you thought it was annoying, you should have just been me sitting 2 rows in front of them. And then you would have really known what annoying was.
Well, that's cool. Trevor was only 2 rows behind you yesterday.
Bobby's coming in hot on Trevor now.
I'm sorry, Trevor.
Oh no, Bobby, we go way back.
We do. I meant that for Sean, but he wouldn't yell at himself, so I had to bounce off someone.
Hey, that's fair. I understand.
There's probably more of a Vince vibe anyway.
You're not allowed to make fun of Vince right now. I mean, he's off limits as far as you know anyway.
Well, he always says treat him the same all the time, so I am.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. You got your Dolphins playing the Steelers tonight, Bobby. Are you hopeful they'll actually make the playoffs? Like, where are you on this whole thing?
No, I'm not. Well, I'm already disappointed because they sucked this year. So now they're not going to get rid of their coach. They're just enough in it that they're not ruining anything. They're just middle of the road. And if they did find a way in the playoffs, they'd lose by 25 in the first round. So I think I'd rather just get knocked out and not even get my hopes up for that first week of the playoffs.
That's fair.
But, I mean, it could be worse. Could be a Bengals fan.
You sure could be, buddy. You sure could be. It's rough over here in the Trowbridge household.
I bet. Poor Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
I know. All right. Well, that's going to do it for tonight. Trevor, we'll be back. I guess you'll both be back on Wednesday. Trevor will be here with me in the first hour once again, and then I get a double dose of Bobby and Trevor in hour number 2. Jesse will be in tomorrow. We've got something fun lined up for tomorrow's show. We got some like off-brand. Well, I don't know, off-brand. In any case, we've got some different things coming up over the next couple of weeks. All right, we'll talk to you tomorrow. Monday Night Football coming up next. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat, IrishBreakdown.com.